Good evening, friends, and welcome to Littleport Christian Spiritualists. It is a pleasure and a joy to welcome you all here this evening to, you guessed it, Chateau del Nick à la Boudoir del Brown, as we have another evening of upliftment, love, light, and we pray laughter. I'd like to thank you all for joining, both those that are here with us right now, live, and to all of you that are going to join later on and catch up throughout the week. You're also most welcome. And thank you all for your ongoing and endearing support. And I can see that we've got quite a lot of comments tonight of people watching us for the first time. From the Scandinavian regions, and I wonder why that is. Hey, you think you might know if you've read the advert, but if you haven't, we'll be explaining in a second. But thank you all once again for joining us this night. It's a pleasure to welcome everyone every Thursday night to do something that is vital to this way of life. And I see Darren has made it, thanks to the conversation we had earlier as well. You're very welcome, my friend. But one of the most important things in this way of life is remembering who we are and what we do. And as a very dear friend of mine has said on numerous occasions, never giving an inch. The New Christian Spiritualist Society, of which this church is the first church of the New Christian Spiritualist Society, prides and strives itself on fighting for those principles we hold dear, not only the 8 principles of Christian spiritualism, but also the 7 principles of mediumship. And the priorities that we have in this way of life is good, solid, genuine mediumship, good philosophy that helps the world, and healing. Those 3 wonderful pieces of our way of life that we all hold so dear. And I know that we are going to have an evening just like that. Very briefly, a number of weeks ago, I was having a conversation on a Facebook page. It was the Psychic World magazine, actually. A comment had been made on one of our ads for one of our services, and a question had been asked in a kindly and polite manner, and I decided to engage that question and have a chat. And we got chatting, and we kept chatting, and we discussed all manner of things and had a great old giggle. And I said, "Why don't you come and serve us?" And she very kindly said yes. And that's where we're at tonight. So it gives me great pleasure to welcome our medium for this evening. And not only did we have a good old gas bag on the Psychic World, we also had a good gas bag when we was testing out the software this afternoon as well. I know you're going to welcome her, and I know she's going to be part of the family. Her name, of course, is Marion Dampier-Jeans. Are you there?
I'm here in London.
In London with the rain. How are you, my friend?
I'm fine, thank you. It's certainly is a time being indoors and a little bit outdoors and all that kind of thing. But it has given time to, I think, spirit to come through on a daily basis here. Because of being a physical medium also, there has been a lot of physical phenomena happening within the house.
Wow.
This has been extraordinary, and it's been like people. Now you all like know I'm from Scandinavia. I'm Danish, Norwegian, where I actually was on my like what we are here, but it was Zoom talking, and I had to go out to my front door, and we have got a camera. We can see what's happening out there. And I walked out because I have keys. I can shut the door, which you do in London. So my key was hanging there with its little butterfly on it. And I got out there because the postman was there and I couldn't find the key. It has totally, completely vanished. And I shouted, "I'm sorry, I can't find the key." And he laughed. And he said, "Don't worry, Marion, look for it." And I did. I couldn't find it. So I actually took another set of keys, but I got tassels on it, stuck it in, opened the door and said, "I'm ever so sorry." Took the parcel in and left it and left my keys, the new ones, in the door, went back in again. And we just had a chit chat. And I
Yeah.
heard something go bang. I went, "What on earth was that?" I then took my computer back out again. And what happened then were The keys I couldn't find was back in the door, and the keys I put in was on the floor. So it's just a way that being with you all the time, if we are in a lockdown, if we're not in a lockdown, the physical part of my mediumship still shines. It still comes through. So that has been interesting. The only thing that's been really hard, and I think that any medium can resonate with this, and that is not being able to take a service in the church, being
Yes.
part of the people, be with the people where things are happening. You have a little family in all the churches that you go to, and that sort of came to abrupt for over a year now. So
Yes.
it is just now starting to open up, and I'm holding my breath and going, yes, back into the family again. So I'm looking forward to that being
Absolutely.
my first demonstration on Sunday. Plus this one.
Fantastic. Oh, bless you. That's brilliant. Well, we're hoping, we're fingers crossed, please God, and prayers be, please everybody. We should be back in the village hall in 2 weeks' time. It's not long now. It feels like it's been a lifetime, of course, as you said, and I know what you mean about, you know, that family. I've been so overwhelmed by how the family feel has continued through this medium, if you'll pardon the pun. But I know there's so many people in the chat and who watch us week in, week out. Like, when it's open, we're going to come and visit. You know, people from miles away that want to come and be a part of it because they've enjoyed being part of this. And I did promise, and as we was discussing earlier on, for those that are not able to physically leave their house, we will continue with this format as well, but from the village hall, because we can't leave our online family behind as much as we miss our physical family in the buildings. But as we know, of course, the only temple that we need really for spirit is this one. This body is my temple. That's why I leave the boots on the outside. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. But no, it really, really will be so great to get back into the hall. So have a wonderful night on Sunday, of course, but we know you're going to have a wonderful night tonight, because we are going to adopt you. When you join us, you get stuck with us, I'm afraid. You know, we never let you go. And I know that everyone at home is really looking forward to your demonstration, Marion. So thank you for joining us. And now, of course, the other member of the family, who often comes on at this time of the night. I suppose if I'm kind of like the cranky old uncle who sits up here week in, week out, she's the excitable and naughty auntie of Littleport Christian Spiritualists. But of course, she does other things as well. She is, of course, the principal minister of the New Christian Spiritualist Society, my very good friend. And we all know after last week how long we've known each other, so I won't remind everybody. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give a big hello. Reverend Lynn, are you there?
Definitely, I am. after many trials and tribulations, as you know, the techniques go haywire every time I try and do it, and I'm sure Marion will say, it's spirit influence.
Absolutely.
When you work with spirit all the time and you're indoors, it does build up that influence, that energy, and they're just there, and they manifest themselves in all sorts of different ways, which is good fun. We accept it graciously, or we try to. But yeah, I'm so glad to welcome Marion to our village hall tonight, and I'm sure that at some point she'll actually physically be able to come and visit with us. And the interesting thing you see about Littleport, we are connected with Scandinavian countries, if she doesn't mind me calling them that as on block, but Norway and Denmark, Sweden, Finland, all of those countries are connected with us through the ice. Yes. And I'm an old ice speed skater, and I'm trying to relaunch bandy as a sport here again, which is where it started, where it's played in Norway, of course, and Denmark and Finland, many other Scandinavian countries, and we are connected with this. And what I've always said is that, you know, if you take a look through the Bible, you will see that God is a skater. Not just because he made the ice, but he made it so he could have a skate, I think. And in Revelations, at the back of the Bible, where John had his revelations, he saw God sitting on a throne at the back of what he called a sea of glass. And of course, in the Middle East, he'd never seen a sheet of ice, but we know exactly what he meant. And he said that the angels were singing and dancing on it. And of course, we understand that as well. So, and by the breath of God, the frost is formed, and therefore the ice. So we do have a connection, Marion, outside of everything else, with your place of birth. But I was very interested this week to see that there seemed to be a lot of conversation and debate about prayer. And of course, as spiritualists, we understand that prayer is just asking for things and asking spirit. And as we all know, that all our askings are heard. We can't say whether or not it's God's will that we should be granted everything we ask for. And very often it would turn out that it was just as best as, you know, if we don't get what we ask for. And as I always say, I'm glad I don't get what I deserve. You know, all those transgressions I committed over a period of years in my life, I don't want to deserve that, you know, retribution for that. But the thing is that I belong to something also called the Church's Fellowship for Psychical and Spiritual Studies. And that is just, it's open to all Christians, actually. And it's sort of like the spirit, don't tell anybody, it's like the spiritualist arm of the Anglican Communion. You know, the Church of England that pretends that, you know, that we don't exist or they don't like us and stuff like that. But in actual fact, it's a very wonderful fellowship that was set up in the beginning of this century, last century, I beg your pardon. And I've belonged to that. You know, it's very interesting. And of course, I would love to tell you this as well. Now, the other thing is this about Jesus and his 2 commandments. He said that we must love God with all our heart, with all our soul, with all our might. And he also said we should love one another. And he was actually quoting from the Bible. You know, I've just mentioned the Bible. I'll mention it again. Because, you know, very often evangelical Christians who tell us that we're in the wrong will quote the Bible at us and tell us how wrong we are because the Bible says so. Well, I'm telling them that the Bible says we're right. Jesus actually quoted those 2 commandments that are attributed to Jesus himself as if he'd plucked them out of thin air from spirit. No doubt spirit inspired him, of course, to say that. But he was quoting directly from Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse 4. That was the bit about loving God and God the only one, and with all our soul and with all our mind, with all our might. And the second one about loving thy neighbour, he quoted from Leviticus chapter 19, verse 18. So, you know, Jesus was a Bible man. He was a Jew. And as much as people don't want to think he was, he is. So, you know, alive now, as all of those who passed from this life are alive now. You know, and honestly, they're quite interfering in our lives down here, aren't they, Marion? You know, with your keys, for instance, and all sorts of other things, and it's very wonderful. It's not frightening, and it's not full of horror. Don't listen to all those horror stories about spiritualism and what we do. It's absolute rubbish. You know, we live in the light. We live for the light. And the other thing is that what I've noticed is through my membership of the Church's Fellowship, that broader Christian base, is that they also have, they publish some of their services that they have. And the Anglican Communion down in Dorset had something called a Celtic, I'll get this right, a Celtic night service. And, you know, when we start, I must say that if we start giving people and organisations names, you know, Celtic, or, you know, we pray in a particular way, it's a Celtic night service of prayer. And you think, well, you know, there's got to be something different about it. But of course, the fact is we are all the same. And I think that it's quite interesting because it drew me to look at it. I thought, oh, Celtic, I wonder what this is. You know, maybe it's pixies, you know, because we hear about these things, you know, nature spirits or something, but no. And when I saw it and read their service, I thought, this is wonderful. It could be a spiritualist service. You know, it's amazing. And the prayers that they make are prayers that we recognise as spiritualists being very, very efficacious. They work, and people will listen. Those upstairs, you know, will listen to what we're saying. And don't forget that, everybody, when you are asking for what you need. And I just thought it would be nice to sort of let you know a little bit about what these other churches do that are so similar to us. And for instance, they actually recite Psalm 121 from that same Bible, but they don't say that is what it is. So, you know, when we say things, Reverend Nick made a little hymn book available on Amazon, by the way, New Spiritualist Society hymn book. I think he'll tell you afterwards what it's actually called. I just bumble away. But we selected all these hymns, you see, and I wrote a couple of articles for it about how good it is and so on. And we have deliberately attributed to everybody the authorship of the lines that they've written. All the hymns have the author's names appended to them. And where it's a psalm, it says it's a psalm and what number. So you've always got that reference and attribution. It's not out of the thin air. This Psalm 121 did not come out of the thin air to be placed in the mouth of the vicar reading it. You know, credit where credit's due. It was King David of Israel, that well-known Middle Eastern trouble spot. But I thought I would like to leave you with these thoughts, if I may, because I would like to take the words that they used for their Celtic night prayer service and share it with you, because it's they're so lovely words. And it says, and they say this. And the other thing is that, of course, they have a leader to their prayers, and they have a leader to their prayers. We don't have leaders. We don't require people to say things back to us. You know, people can sit there and be quite private and quiet and listen to what we have to say. They don't have to say anything back. And I think that is a benefit, to be quite honest. I think it's quite embarrassing when you have to answer people, so I shall avoid what the leader says and what they expect as a response, and just tell you what the words are, which I think were wonderful. Shadows lengthen, darkness thickens. Now, we all know about thick darkness in the seance room and in the seance situation. And Moses, of course, used to take the elders of his tribe, and they used to sit in a tent in thick darkness to inquire of the Lord. We have all done that, those of us who are into speaking with spirit. And I'm sure that Marion has done that too. The lights are lit and the day we have lived through comes to an end. Let us worship the God who separated light from darkness. Let us worship the God who ordered the birth of the stars, who watches over us unsleeping night and day. Through our nights and days, through our sleeping and waking, through our resting and working, keep us mindful of your presence, holy God. Through places of darkness when we cannot see, when we stumble, keep us faithful of your love. When evil threatens, deceiving and unnerving us, masquerading as light, keep us mindful of your strong protection. Let us pray. We call to mind those whose work is just beginning and those who are dreading this night. Lord, have mercy on us. We call to mind those who will have no shelter or adequate accommodation, those for whom the comfort of sleep does not come, and whose minds cannot rest. All, Lord, have mercy. We call to mind those who are ill or in pain, for whom the night will drag, for the anxious, lonely, and forgotten, who have no one to be with them. Keep us and those for whom we pray safe, O Lord, in the darkness of this night. Amen to that.
Amen.
And in between that, you see, they interrupt it with people have to sort of say something. And what the leader says is, have mercy. And he says things like, hallowed be his name. Or people have to say, hallowed be his name. Now, in the Hebrew, Jesus would have said, Baruch Hashem, blessed be the name, because that's what the greeting is in prayer by the Hebrews, by the Jews. Baruch Hashem, blessed be the name. And so, isn't it interesting that in this Anglican communion, in this Anglican church service, there are echoes down the ages from the time it all began. And the Psalm 121 is that old favourite. I lift up my eyes to the hills. From where does my help come? And my help comes from the Lord who made heaven and earth. He will not let your foot be moved. He who keeps you will not slumber. Behold, he who keeps Israel will neither slumber nor sleep. The Lord is your keeper. The Lord is your shade on your right hand. The sun shall not strike you by day, nor the moon by night. The Lord will keep you from all evil. He will keep your life. Amen to that. And I just thought that, talking about prayer, it's nice to have some prayers to our lips that are given by others. And there are lots and lots of prayers in the Bible, like the ones I've just read to you. And you should never be on your own and prayerless. You should always know that there are prayers all around you. And if you can't pray because you're so desperate, desolate, despairing, know that God will hear what's in your heart, and you will be heard and listened to. I do hope that you've enjoyed this little chat this evening. I couldn't think of any jokes because sometimes we do have a good laugh, but somehow or other, I felt that perhaps this evening we needed to look on the serious side of spirit, and in respect also to our medium tonight, who has been an outspoken advocate for spiritualism, for our way of life, for our religion, for our religious beliefs. And I think she embodies in her own self the fact that we are all the same. Doesn't matter what country we come from or where we're born into, what colour our hair is or our skin or our eyes or whatever. We are all spirit within. And I know that Marion tonight will do us proud. She will present spiritualism to everybody who will watch tonight and in the future, and will comfort many people through her demonstration that there is no death, as my old editor of Psychic News, who founded it, said there is no death. And we seek to prove that. And we want everybody to know that there is life after this life. And those that we love, that we think we've lost, are still there, caring for us still. And I can hear my particular guide and mentor, Doris, who is here over my shoulder, telling me to shut up and let other people have a go. So, and I will say, that her words, of course, you can't die for the life of you. So God bless you all tonight. And I know that we're going to have a lovely, lovely time. And we want plenty of people speaking. When you get a message, people, please answer up. Don't just sit there stum, because we all want to know your business. And if you stay quiet, we don't know. So we would like to know all your ins and outs. When you get communication from your loved ones, please answer them. Thank you.
And I shall now do the one thing that I always get away with until we get back in the hall, of course. I shall press the mute button so there's no echo. But thank you, as ever, Lynn, for your wisdom, your thoughts, and your guidance in this. And for those that didn't see it before, I will show it again. There we are. That is the hymn book of which the lady speaketh. It is available on Amazon. For only £4.29. I think that's a steal, actually. And all proceeds go to help keep Littleport and the New Christian Spiritualist Society going, which is a wonderful thing as well. I'd just like to add my 10 penneth, if I may, which I don't very often always, but I know that prayer is one of the most important and essential things that we all have within us. And it's obvious by the fact that when it really hits the fan, even those that aren't completely sure that someone's listening, just in case, they will start praying. They will send out their thoughts to the Great Spirit, to the universe, and hope that somebody is listening. And I was always told by my earthly mentor, that one there, just leave it to spirit. Just leave it to spirit. And that's what you do. You give it over and you get on with it and allow them to decide how to help you. Because if we always ask for one thing, we should always ask for help and not the actual solution. Never, ever ask for the specific fix, because you might get a surprise or a blooming shock. But if you leave it to them, they know what you need, they know what will happen, and they will help. And of course, a prayer is the first step towards mediumship, because it's the beginnings of a two-way conversation, because all two-way conversations start with somebody opening their gob and saying something. And I think that is the beauty of our way of life, that we not only advocate the one-way conversation of prayer, but we help people find that two-way conversation where you actually hear the answer. I think that's wonderful. And it certainly is one of the greatest things of our way of life. So, Lynn, as ever, thank you so much for coming on and joining us. And I know you'll be back at the end for your final analysis and another word or 10 in our ear. So thank you, Lynn, and we'll see you a bit later on. Well, Marion, I hope you haven't been splish-splashed by your window yet.
No, I'm still watching why it's raining in, but never mind.
It's holding off. We'll give you a spirit umbrella. We'll all ask for you to be protected. Now, one of the things that we tend to do a little bit differently here in Littleport is that I believe my grandfather would have called it widdershins, the polite way of saying bum about face. We do things backwards, and rather than having the reading before the philosophy, we have the philosophy and then we have the reading, because spirit knows what's going to be said. So we use the reading as proof that spirit are watching by seeing how that reading connects with the philosophy we've just heard. And this week, as ever, we are asking Reverend Alan with his reading to come up and join us and say, Reverend Alan, are you there?
I certainly am, Nick. Certainly am. And what a day I've had this morning. This is my 5th reading, by the way, that I picked. Spirit had different ideas to myself and refused to print the others. So, this is the first one that I've been able to print. It's not a very good print, so just please bear with me, people, because I am struggling to see some of the words. Anyway, it is called Words to Live By, and I'm almost certain it's by Anonymous, because there's no name to it. Oh, here we go. People are often unreasonable, illogically, and self-centered. Forgive them anyway. If you are kind, people may accuse you of selfish, ulterior motives. Be kind anyway. If you are successful, you may win false friends and true enemies. Succeed anyway. If you are honest and frank, people may cheat you. Be honest and frank anyway. What you spend years building, someone can destroy overnight. Build anyway. If you find serenity and happiness, they may be jealous. Be happy anyway. The good you do today, people will often forget tomorrow. Be good anyway. Give the world the best you have, and it may never be enough. Give the world your best anyway. You see, in the final analysis, it is between you and God. And it was never between you and them anyway. Thank you very much.
Fantastic. Thank you, Alan. Brilliant. And do you know what? Not only is virtually everything in that list what people pray for, the final verse is a description of what a prayer is anyway. Wonderful. Thank you. Alan, as ever, you always, you and your friends and helpers always do us a good job, week in, week out. So thank you for that, my friend.
Thank you, Nick. We do try.
Absolutely. And we will see you for the closing prayer, my friend.
Will do. Have a good night, everyone.
God bless. Well, friends, now is the time in our service when we put that power of prayer into action, where we ask for love and support and, of course, healing for all those who are sick and suffering and in need of comfort. For those that have never been with us before, this is where we say our healing prayer. We have a short 60-second healing video with candles and music to help you along. But this is where we send out our thoughts, send out our prayers, and ask for all who are sick and suffering. And as ever, we will begin with the healing prayer and end with the word Amen. So let's join together and say, Great Spirit, Father, Mother God, here we bring unto you all those who are sick and suffering and in need of comfort, be they sick in mind, body, or spirit, that it may please thee to heal them. Both those we know, those we do not know, and those who have no one to ask for them. We ask for them now. Amen. Well, friends, thank you for joining and sending out that thoughts. Now, one of the first things that I'm ever asked is, does healing work? And I have great belief and great personal experience in the power of healing and the power of prayer. But if you're unsure, in the words of tonight's reading, give it a go anyway. And so now, my friends, it is that time of the evening where you get rid of my face and away from my dulcet tones as I hand over this service to our medium for this evening, which of course is Marion. And I know you're all going to look after her, and I know you're all going to be nice. And I know after their education from Reverend Lynn earlier, they're all going to behave themselves and be very vocal for you tonight, Marion. But for the next 30 minutes or so, albeit with a brief interlude before the last message, I can see you did arrive during the credits, dears. It is now well and truly over to Marion. So I'll ask for her first recipient. Sharon, are you there? I know you've... Yes, she's there. Sharon, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Hi, Nick. Hi, Marion.
Bless
Hello.
you.
Hello, Sharon.
Well, as you can both hear each other, I'm going to get out of the way and say over to you, my love.
Good, he disappeared. That's good. Hello, Sharon. I'm going to
Hello.
try to get as close as I can, because of normally what happens with me, because of being a physical medium, I get things during the day. And often people show themselves during the nighttime for me too, for what is about to happen during the daytime, which is quite interesting upon my part. So it's very interesting to listen to various different voices in which I can hear the way they speak and the way that they pronounce words. And sometimes I don't always understand it because I am not English. And I have to keep on saying that. You all right with that, Sharon?
That's fine.
Yes?
Yep.
Oh, okay. Sorry, it's just that the echo is on that sort of way. Now, Sharon, one of the things I have got here, and I did get a little while, and then you have come over, and that was that I have seen already 2 people on the other side of life. Okay, not 1, but 2 people. I'm very, I can say, strong in what I see, so I would like to bring this through to you, okay?
Okay.
And the 2 people I see is a lady and a gentleman who was married or were together for years on this earth. So what they have done, they have come in together, not separate from each other, but together. And letting you know that they have met each other and are together on the other side of life. They also go back and start talking about the time of living. And that was not, I think, in a major big town like London or Birmingham or whatever it is, but it was a much smaller town, because they talk about there was places for fields, there was small villages, there was everything. Now I'm going to ask you, Sharon, do you understand anything about this? Don't be
Not
afraid of saying
even-
no, because I
No.
will go check it out.
No.
You don't understand. Okay.
No.
Do you know where your mother's family come from?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Would there have been a connection, not with London, but outside London?
Yes.
Okay. I have to go at that part. Okay.
Okay.
Would you understand about her parents, her grandparents, who they were, where they came from, and so forth? Would you understand that?
Yes. I know where they came from. Yeah.
Great. In that situation, have you ever heard a name? I'm just going to try to find it, because have you ever heard a name of either Gladden or Gladstone or something with the j sound that comes in here? There's mentioned, because we're going back in time, not now. It's somebody that you grandparents would have known, that you would have lived next to each other, talked to each other, over the fence is what we call it. But there was a neighborhood around your grandparents in which we're talking about, where people did talk together, they did have a good time together, and there was always something that you will share, even if it was like memories, or it was a cup of tea, or somebody's made a cake or biscuits or anything else like that. Do you understand, Sharon?
I think I can think of something. Yes.
Never to think with me is to know, because
Oh.
that's where my strength lies, is actually to
But-
know what it is we're talking
Okay,
about.
the name that you said, could it have ended with town?
Yeah, so what would you call it?
Well, the only thing I can think of is Georgetown.
No.
It's
I
not
won't
that.
say it. No. It started with either it is Glaston or Gladson or something like that. It is a name that is relevant. It's something that should have been spoken about. is somebody that should have been known to the family. And it is, have you ever heard of the name? I'm just going to, Eric, and then comes in with Gladstone or Gladstone, but Eric and Eric in front of it.
No.
Do you know, I have a funny feeling, Sharon, despite that Nick would like us to, you know, he takes people in and he wants me to go, I think that this here is to somebody else in which has been with me all day, and I have heard and I have seen this morning. And I just have a funny feeling that this might belong to somebody else.
Okay, that's fine. If anyone can claim it.
It is still very important because it's not us who choose. It is spirit. Like being in a spiritualist church, you don't know where you are until you get the connection. And I think that we have got the connection with somebody else. Now, I can't see when people are writing or anything else like this. It's not on my screen. So I wonder if there is somebody who's writing in saying, you can take this. You know, because I won't let it go. I never is a medium who lets things go. I have to work until I have a solid form of evidence with this that's going on in you know, here at the moment. There you go, Gladstoneberry. There you are. Karen, do you, I'm going to ask, do you mind? Is there somebody else, or can somebody take this, what I'm talking about? Karen, can you find out? Can somebody take this, what I'm talking about?
We have Karen with Glastonbury. I've just popped it up on the screen. If you're listening, my darling, please please say if that's a connection for you, if you can understand that information. And anyone else, if you're in the studio downstairs and all of that kind of rung a bell, just give me a wave. Oh, it was just a name that came to a Glastonbury.
Yeah.
So,
as I said, you know, it could be Gladstone or Glaston or Glastonson something. Not necessarily Glastonbury. Not necessarily. It is a name in specific that has come through. And that is what I'm looking at. It is a name that is connected to all the things I'm trying to say. It has to do with the old gentleman, and it has to do with the old woman who went on to the other side of life. Not many, I think, years from each other, because he was very close to each other through the lifetime. Very earthly people, I can say. They love to walk small walks where they used to live. They used to love the nature. They used to be very close to some of the neighbors. These are the people I want to get through. These are the ones who's been here since last night. So I owe them for them to come through. Do you see what I mean? So I wonder if there's somebody who can take this.
Feel free, anyone, to make a comment in the chat box if you can accept this.
I know there's somebody there.
You see, the problem with it being a service like this is there's possibility that it may well be somebody who watches tonight after the service or tomorrow. I can see nobody's coming forward yet. So it could very well be somebody who wants to watch later on, in which case I'm sure they will comment 1,000 times.
Is there anybody in there called Karen? Is there anybody with the name of Karen?
There's a Karen who was the one who mentioned Glastonbury.
Okay.
So did you, Tracy has said, did you say the name Eric? Yes, the name Eric was there.
But can she take the rest of it?
But can you take the rest of it as well, my darling? Just waiting for the chats to come.
Yeah, so it's all right. Sorry, we can just talk with you. I'm ever so sorry about this, Shannon, really. But sometimes when you have things like this, it has to be brought forward. And I'm not one who give up with spirit. I always bring the message forward in which it's given. I won't turn around and dinkle-dangle all the way. I know where I'm going. And that is the same as with the next person.
So Tracy had an old neighbour called Eric who was a sailor.
Right.
So
Tracy.
that's what she's said.
But does Tracy understand the rest of the story?
Right. So Tracy just said that she didn't hear the rest of the message because she had a bit of a cutout. So Tracy, basically there is this name of Gladstone or Gladstone or something sounding similar to that, that it's going back a couple of generations. We're looking at not a city dwelling, but a town and village with lots of fields. And his wife is still living, so they didn't come through together. So I doubt it would be that, but it could be connection. But no. So, but Tracy's not sure of the name, so unfortunately, we're not going to place that. But I've seen it before, if I may. There are people who. Oh, hang on, Alan, are you waving? Was that you waving, Alan?
Yes. Village, fields, Uncle Eric. My Auntie Elsie died just before him. My Uncle Eric was quite old when he passed.
So do you understand the message, Alan?
I understand Glastonbury, been there, had a good time and everything. And basically I do understand most of it, if not all of it.
Right. I'm going to give you another clue that came back last night, and that was there's either a wedding or anniversary, or there is a birthday around now, because it was almost like a bunch of flowers was also given in midair in my room, but it was, again, things that came from nature. It was not a bought sort of bouquet. So it has to be all together with somebody who didn't live in a big town, but would have gone around picking up flowers, taking it indoors. But it is flowers that came from nature, not from a shop bought. And these are the people.
That is exactly what they would do.
Right, because that was very important to actually mention that. So it's very important. But he came late last night and kept on coming in constantly, all right, and wanted to almost pass like a message across upon a lot of spirituality and a lot of things that was happening. Maybe not always have understood spirituality, but they were very earthly in the nature that they could have understood a lot more, not always Christian neither. But I know that a gentleman who I started to speak to then in the middle of the night, he was very adamant in what he was saying. He was very straightforward what he had to say. He was not, as I said, dinkle dankle all the way. That was not his life.
Yes, that is very much his character.
Yeah. So, he comes through and he just says, oh my God, there's a life after death. So he's coming back sort of in a sense of it, laughing, apologizing a little bit, that there is that connection, Alan. Do you understand?
Yes, I do.
It's very interesting. But I love the way that he came together, if you like. I love the way that he showed me the flowers, indicating again that he will have picked them up from the roadside or whatever, which is very nice to to be able to give it to you. Do you understand it?
Yes.
Kind of anniversary that lies around now. I think that it was. Now there's another thing, Alan, that was done to me last night too. Actually, I wrote on it, and this was my hand was lifted into the air in the middle of the night, and I had a lady that stroked my hands up and down, literally stroked my hand. I could feel her fingers grabbing me and just gently going up and down. I have to ask to let go because she was waking me up completely, which perhaps also shows me, in the sense of it, Alan, that you need healing either on your shoulder, your hands, somewhere like that. You just need to be taking care of the old bones.
I understand.
Do you understand?
Yes, I do.
Something that is just a gratitude and saying that we are with you, we are giving you healing, we're doing lots of things, with you. And she's very apologetic to me that she had woken me up and I had to feel all this. But hey, here we go. That's what it's like to be this kind of medium in which I am. So there's a gratitude and well done to you, and just remembering the anniversary, the two people who came in and out. So I have to give it
Okay.
to you. Sorry about that, Shannon. It's not my fault.
Thank you. I'm sorry about that, Sharon. But you
No,
know,
that's okay. I'm glad you got the message.
Yeah,
it is what it is.
You
Yeah.
can't
Uh,
always go to people you want to go with, Sharon. Do you see what I mean? You
Yeah.
don't do it in churches, and you don't do it here neither. I have to go to the person in which I heard last night. That's where I have to come into. Do you understand that? And that's exactly
Lovely, brilliant. Well, I'm glad
Thank
that
you.
link has been found. So thank you for coming
Yeah.
back up, Alan, and
Thank
we'll see you a bit later. Bless you. Now, Marion, if it's okay with you, I will just disappear a bit and see if you can get something for Sharon then.
Yeah. Okay. Let's have a look and see. I don't always know what's coming through, Shannon. This is one of my things, you know. I keep on hearing voices. I keep on feeling and sensing constantly. So with that, you know, I have to keep on being taken into directions in which, you know, what I hear. But I did have earlier on, and this is again, and I hope it's with you, a lady who had been in hospital before her death. I don't know if you understand this. She went
Yes.
in a little while before, not just on the day of dying, but she went in maybe a week before or 5 days before or something like that to hospital because that she was becoming quite ill. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Okay, just keep on so I know where I am. But what happened was, I think that when she was in hospital, she was nipping in and out what we call consciousness. Do you understand that?
Yes.
She was there one moment and then she was away the next moment.
Yes.
So it's like a drifting situation. Okay. What was very interesting, she did know in that conscious state that there was people who visit her. Do you understand this?
Yes.
And she also felt somebody touching her and touching her hand, and somebody saying, Shannon, it's all right, you can go. She actually listened to that. Okay. And because of that, she actually took the initial step of going onto the other side of life, where she again was met by people in which obviously has gone before her. Do you understand all this?
Yeah, I think so. It could be related to my grandmother.
Do you know the people that was with her when she died in hospital?
My aunt just missed her. My aunt left, and when she left, my nan went.
Okay. So who was there, like, let us say a couple of hours before? Was there other people there? Was there some other kind of, because
Her
about
daughter.
yeah, she talks about that. Okay. I think that she was very glad that she was told that she could go. Would you understand why this were?
Yes, I think so.
It is a relief for her that she doesn't need to be on this earth. Do you understand it? That she has the permission she felt from the relative that she can go onto the other side of life. And she did.
Yeah.
And she was met by a gentleman who was on the other side. And she was so pleased to see this man that she just went, yes. And if somebody could ever verify this with you, you will find out that she opened her eyes before her death, stared into midair, looked, couldn't believe what she was seeing, smiled, and then went.
Oh,
That
that's
is
nice
the
to know.
signification in this. Do you understand any of this?
Well, I could imagine that if she did go over and there was somebody there that she wanted to see, she'd have been happy. But I can't verify what happened at the time of her passing. It was a nurse that was with her. So we believe.
That is a wonderful way of verifying. Do you see what I mean? Her passing onto the other side of life. Do you understand that? You know, it's also interesting because there is quite a lot of people on the other side of life belonging to you. Do you understand it?
Yes.
There is, because you hear not one voice, I hear more than one voice here coming across and saying, oh, we are also here. So and you have got from young to old also. You can hear different kind of, I say, tones in the voice. Do you understand that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So again, it's quite interesting, again, to listening. The whole fact is, Sharon, and that is that you yourself has to listen more to spirit than what you actually do, because it's the feeling that things does happen around you, and they are desperately trying to get through to you, to give you various different messages, or trying to reach you in many ways. Do you understand this?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. And that doesn't mean that you don't hear voices already, but I think that you have to awaken to another way of understanding it.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
Yes.
It's interesting for them that you know that they are around and they are trying to get through. Do you see what I mean? Trying to relate
Yeah.
a story. Also, a gentleman, I felt that he did actually go over quite quickly onto the other side of life. There wasn't a lot of illnesses with him or anything else like this. And sometimes we can put question marks, is, why did he pass over, or why did he go over to the world of spirit? Would you understand that?
Yeah, there are a few people that went quickly without any
I
reason.
think it's a few here. There's always a reason for the one gentleman who comes through. Do you understand it? Because he just felt that he didn't say goodbye to people and so forth. And he was very sad because he didn't become old, if you like. So he was probably in his 60s or something like that as he passed over.
Yeah.
Do you understand him?
Yes, I do.
Okay. It was just like his feeling that, he's actually trying to take my voice over, and I'm not going to let him. Okay. You can hear my voice is going now. Okay. He's desperately trying to get through and sort of saying, I didn't realize I was going. I didn't realize I was going to go over to the other side of life. And it was very confusing. He said, finding yourself alive and then over. And he's just going, oh my God, like this, didn't realize. But he's all right now. He said, he's trying to learn the way of spirit. He's trying to get through to you and all sort of things like that. I wonder if you understand when he talks about, I don't know if he either would have lived or liked trains or something with train journeys or railways or something like that. He just, he goes like that and keep on saying, if you just go, she will understand. So there seems to be something about trains. I don't know what it is, but
Yeah, that could be something. Yeah.
as long as you understand, it's all right. It's just the way that spirit sometimes could come through in voices. He could come through with a symbol, but he can also come through with a song of anything else like that. And I think that's what I want to give you with him. He's quite funny, actually. I have to say, he's a man in his own right. And he turns around and he says, I'm holding my tongue because I am not swearing today. He said, I'm very good. So there just seems to be this one, he doesn't want to swear. Not today, he said, keep your tongue straight. It goes like that. But
okay.
I can understand that too.
Lovely, thank you.
Thank you.
Brilliant.
I think I'm going to have to take another one, Nick, because you're pressing me to carry on. Sorry.
Yeah,
Sorry.
no, that's fine. Thank you, Sharon, and I'm glad we got there. Twofer, it's a twofer, so we're moving swiftly on. So thank you, my darling, and we'll see you a bit later on. Thank you. Bless you. Well, now moving swiftly on, I usually bring them up in order of when they arrive, but you look like you've got something already.
Can I just ask for something here, because there's something strange happening here too. There's a young man who stayed with me and have pushed me, and I've had to look sideways and this kind of way. He actually took his own life. And it's like, if he wants to get through, he wants to either speak to his mother or somebody who knew him, because there's been a debate about why he did it. But I'm sorry, he's been here for a little while. I have to throw that out. Can anybody take this young man?
Is anyone of our two recipients left? Can they understand this? Rather than bring you up one at a time, either Pam or Haley. And we have Donna in the chat box who can understand that. Donna can understand that, but I'm not getting any comment from either Pam or Haley yet.
Because I had a funny feeling that though people has been taken from you to put in here, this has literally not worked with me. That is why his life. I have to ask you, Donna, okay, it was not understood at the time why he did it, and has been question marks about why did he take his own life. I wonder if you will understand that, because that's how I have been pestered today to actually get through, because he just wants to say something.
There's your answer, yes.
Yeah. It is also because that he didn't like gossip. He didn't like people, but he was also involved in what he's trying to explain to me with people that wasn't always very good for him. And he was a person who may always not like to say no to things. He was a little bit of what I called not always straightforward in his answers. He was a little, not deluded, but he was just, I can only sort of say, not a strange guy, but he just did the things he wanted to do, and he hated to listen to anybody else's advice. He just will not listen to it. Don't you damn tell me what to do. I cannot stand people telling me what to do. And that has been from a very young age. That tributated to his death. That took him over to the other side of life, because he was in such a muddle in the end of it that he just didn't want to live anymore. He talks about somebody, I think it might be a nickname of Sammy, Sam, something with Sam in it. He goes on and he just says that it was somebody I either used to drink with or smoke with or something like that, but wasn't maybe not always a good influence.
Just waiting for a reply. So so far 100% you've been given, so just waiting for a response to that last bit. Get your fingers busy, Donna. Can't think.
Can't think. Okay, that's all right, Donna. If you weren't in the family with her,
there was a lot of them.
Yeah,
family.
So it was just with him. All I can turn around and say, it was a confusion in his life. It was what happened. It was what led into it that I think that people today don't understand, and why he actually took his life. He's not here to get any kind of apologize to anybody. It's like he's saying, I did it my way. It was my life. And that was it. So he just wants to turn around and says, I'm perfectly okay. In the world of spirit, I haven't gone to hell. I haven't got anywhere else. I am with people I know and have been with them since my passing over. That's the message he wants to come over with. So,
there you go.
So it's just love him. That's good. And it's again, Donna, he has been with you quite a lot. And one of the things that he does do, and I want you now to actually try to recognize what he does to you. Sometimes he does tapping. That means tapping on the door, tapping on the wall, tapping on anything that tick, 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 boss. Yeah. He taps around to letting you know when he's there. It's like not a game, but he just wants to say, oh my God, there's a life after this. Tap, 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 tap. He goes like that. So it's quite interesting. And then there seems to be a laughter with him right now, where he turns around and he says, and you will always find it in the settee. So sometimes you have to take all your pillows away or whatever, and you will find it in the settee, because you keep on laughing. By saying you put things down, you can never damn find it. You sit on your settee, it disappears, and it is not always you. It can also be not spirit, but it could be you, Donna. He is a wonderful character to actually come through with, I have to say, full of laughter, full of fun. He also mentioned that one of his things that he quite liked, he said, oh, I can't stand those blasted vegetarian. He goes, give me a steak at any time. And there seems to be a laughter with it. So again, you can hear his sort of kind of living and way, and the way he is. Actually, he prefers blonde, he says. So I think I'm all right. So it's again his sense of humor. As I said, a very beautiful person, as what he tried to say. I wasn't, an educated sort of university thing. I just liked life. I just like things, but, I have to get out of it. And he says, that is me. That is me. So he just said, we can all be simple and we still know things. And again, God bless him. He's great with it. He just turns around and says, the worst things about smoking is when you have to roll the buggers yourself. Sorry about that, but that has to come through. I had to give it because of the pressure. Now I have got one more pressure I have to give. Sorry, Nick. I know you do it in a different way, but sometimes, do you understand it?
I do.
It takes over. They don't want to do it your way. They want to do it their way. So after a while here, I was sitting and then I started to burst out laughing because I had a gentleman here who goes back to what we call London town. And he goes, "Oh, God blimey, Marion. Hello, Diggy Birdie here." And his cockney came flying out of him. "Yeah, I'm the geezer, wait." And you could hear his cockney slangs. Then he turns around and he talks about, live not very far away from a market in the east end of London. If he goes back in time, he says, when he was roughly about 9 to maybe 12 or whatever, he used to help out in one of the market stalls. Nobody he knew, like his father or his grandpa owned it. It was just like something that he would have helped with. He talks about his time, his life when he was on earth, and he just says, people used to go to the pub, and then they used to have these eels and jelly eels, I think it was called, and winkles and all sort of things like that. So he takes me back to the London town of a pie and mash and whatever you have had it. He says, "Oh, the old good liquor," he goes like that. It's wonderful. But it is his way he is and the way that he grew up. Always happy to help, always happy to do. He was like the service of what I will call the poor man. He had always time to talk to people. He grew up like that. He would always help the little lady over across the road, back again. And again, he knows somebody here who has a connection, either, a generation back of what we call East End of London or the old London. I wonder if there's anybody who can take him.
So, Pam or Hayley, can you accept that information? If you give me a wave, because I can't actually hear you. Ah, beautiful. Pamela!
Hello, Nick. Hello, Marion.
Hello.
Hi, darling.
I have connections in London. A lot of my relatives are from London.
And
Fabulous.
would they have come from the old part of London? We called it the East End of London.
Yes.
And would they have lived not very far away from what we call a marketplace or market somewhere, or could have gone down there as when they were younger to give a helping hand, either moving boxes or something for somebody at the store down there? And, there's a lot of sort of recognition from all good London town. And
he may have done it. It would be far back generation.
You should know all this because he suddenly starts to sing, "It's because I'm a Londoner that I love London town." So it is, it's like a family that would have come from there, would have some connection with London, with the market, with the hands-on work, this kind of thing. And then he laughs and he turns around and says, the connection here is also that he knew. And I wonder if that was somebody in the family. There used to be a rack-a-bone man, because I can hear the bell ringing and rack-a-bone, almost like something has to be thrown out, and he will go there and pick it up.
I'm not sure on that. No.
Oh, this is something that it is very interesting because it's the way that he brings it through. Do you understand
Right.
it?
No, not that.
On his time and his way. So it's just, again, just find out if I am with Pam or is it somebody else who can take the whole lot. It's again, we are talking about everything. The whole lot has to fit.
Not rag and bone, no.
Okay, the rag and bone man is there. Okay, because the rag and bone man used to take his horse, link it up to the post, then used to go into the George and Dragon, and then would have got in for his pint together with the gentleman who used to work down in a market. So that's how they would have known each other.
No, I don't think that's with me then.
Thank
No.
you. Because it's
Thank
never
you.
to just accept it. It is to
No.
know what we're talking about.
London links, but not with the rag and bone. No.
So I wonder if there's anybody else there that can recognize this.
There's no comments in the chat box at the moment. Hayley, can you accept this? Give me a wave if you can. I do not see a wave. I'm wondering if there's anyone else who can give me a wave. Otherwise, a comment in the chat box. Nothing so far.
Who then used to have it's like what do you call this shop that sells everything like tins and tin bath and what do you call those old shop there used to be?
Oh,
Hardware shop.
Hardware.
There's a link to a hardware shop.
No.
So you see,
Definitely not me. No.
Somebody else. Do you see what I mean, Pam? Sorry about that. But there has to be somebody who either have worked or lived or owned a hardware shop at the time in London, who lived not far away from a marketplace, would have gone down there, knew the George and Dragon pub, who also knew of a rag and bone man who used to ride the horse, go into the pub, and there would be lots of things actually happening, which is very interesting from that specific time, with very good and strong memories. That's where we are.
There's no wavings and no comments. So perhaps if we throw that out to everyone watching to be able to make a comment, and then perhaps if we would it be possible for that person to step back and allow perhaps someone to come through for Pam while we try and find the recipient, because I do know there is a delay.
Yeah, no, it's all right. It's just like very interesting. Do you see what I mean? For that actually to really come through.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I'm sure someone will accept it later.
Just have to bring it in. I'm one of those that I always get very unusual people through. That's the whole fact of very unusual people will always be allowed to come through. All right, with it. So here we go and see what it is. I have also suddenly lost the breath of my air. That doesn't necessarily means that we all do that when we pass over to the other side or we have problems. We often has problems with that. But would you know of a lady, and I have to go back with a lady, Pam, who could either have had cancer? I'm not quite sure if it was the lung or the chest, like a breast, but it just felt like couldn't quite breathe. And
yes, I do. Yes.
And might have had to have some kind of, I don't know, help with drugs or whatever she could have taken to be able to survive for a little while. Would you understand that?
Yes, yeah.
Okay. Would you know if she was ever given air of any sort or why she feels very sort of taken back at the moment? It's again, I can't breathe.
She was in hospital with it, so she probably had.
Oh, it was just like I just felt like she didn't like the air because it was like a mask on her face, and she tried to sort of pull it off, if you like. That
yes, yeah.
She likes to be conscious. She likes to see what's going on. But I do know when I look at her, Pam, that she was quite ill. Do you understand that, in hospital?
Yes, she was.
Let us not start cutting corners here. She was quite ill. Do you understand that? She wasn't feeling very well. She couldn't keep her food down. She couldn't quite sometimes go to the toilet on her own. So there was a lot of things. Do you understand it? She felt like, is this really the end of life? And I'd rather like to just go. And there was all that kind of, I call it sadness, because having a life like that, that's a terrible end of it.
Yes, she was.
That thing. Would you ever know of a nurse that she would refer to called Connie?
Sorry? A nurse?
Called Connie. A young nurse called Connie. She used to come in and sit and talk to her and hold her hands and just making sure that she was all right.
No, but I do know the name Connie.
You do, but she wasn't a nurse. It has all to link with her. It can't.
No, she wasn't a nurse.
No. Does she belong to her?
No. No.
So it can't be that. We can't grab it and then put it into somewhere else. Do you see what I
No.
mean? It has to be, and I'm sure she said it was a young trainee nurse called Connie. She was very good. She came to her and she used to water her mouth and things like that, and giving her a little shower and whatever she did when she was in bed. And she really liked it. It was like turning around and saying she would be a very good nurse one day, but she just reminded me to tell that it's lovely to have young people like that. So it's just a very nice way of saying she was glad when she went over to the other side of life. Do you know anything about something called Kingsley?
Yes.
Because
a primary school.
Okay, she just talks about Kingsley, and she also just talks about at the time of Kingsley, whatever primary school or whatever it was a very good school in many ways. Do you understand that? There was rules and regulations, she said, like that within the school. And if the children at that time wanted to learn, that was a way they could actually really learn. But there was a great dispute, she says, between parents also. There was almost a fist fight on one point in the bloody playground, she goes. That went on. I think she brings up memories after memories after memories. Do you understand it?
Yes.
And there's also the months of May, because at one of my favorite plants, I love, that's the lilac tree and the lilac smell of May. I love
connection with May.
Yeah, it's a connection with May. But she still brings in what I would call the lilac tree. Okay, the smell of lilacs. So there has been a place where there has been lilac, whatever you call the tree, okay, because of that smelling. Do you see what I mean? So you understand that. Okay, so can you actually turn around and tell me whatever happened to the eggs?
The eggs? Yeah. Oh, yes. We went to a party and had an egg fight.
Again, she's just laughing and just saying it's part of our generation, what we was like. It was part of all that kind of thing. And she just memories to you. Do you understand it? Very, very good memories. She also just says to you to look for in your house or flat or whatever you live in. She just says, be careful with one of the handles, because either it's loose or it's loose.
It fell off the other night.
Yeah. She just says, oh, she was there looking at it, just laughing a little bit. That's all. Just saying, we ain't that far away, darling, that we do know what's going on. So that's it's again memories given to you. Do you understand? Just last thing that she would turn around and says, not too much butter on the toast, dear. You get a big ass.
Right. Thank you.
Just a laugh. So again, I like her because of the way she was down to earth. So that's lovely.
Thank you very much. Yes, it was a good friend of mine died of breast cancer. Yes. Yeah. And we used to stand outside of Kingsley School. So lovely. Thank you very much for that, Marion. It was lovely.
Bless you. Thank you for coming on as well, Pam, and braving it. You know, it takes a lot of courage to come up here and have your world shared with the internet. And I have to admit, Darren, I agree with you. Love it when they make funnies. I live for that. You know, Spirit World definitely has a sense of humor, and they always demonstrate that to us. So, Pam, thank you for being a part of tonight.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Thank you. Bless you. Now, my friends, we've come to our final recipient of the evening. But before that, we have a tradition, Marion.
Oh.
We have a tradition in this church, because obviously when we had a building and we were raising money to keep that building open, we used to have a raffle.
Oh, wow.
And at the end of the raffle, I would always yell out before the final prize, and Bully's special prize, for anyone who is, like me, old enough to remember Jim Bowen's Bullseye. Now, I used to do that, but then that job was stolen from me by a member of the congregation. Now, we don't have a raffle every week, but we do have a raffle in the sense of we raffle off the ability to come online and receive a message from a member of the congregation. And so the last person wins indeed Bully's special prize. And so in order to keep the flow going from when we were in our building, see, everyone's getting ready. They know it. It's bully time. We have that one person who stole that job from me, who continues the tradition week in, week out for us. So we ask the question, Hannah, what time is it?
Prize.
Bully's special prize. Hannah, how are you, my lovely?
Good.
Good. Have you been looking after Mum? Because I know she's been a bit under the weather.
Yes.
Did you make her a nice chicken soup?
Yeah. No.
Bless you. You're right. Well, thank you as ever, my lovely, for coming on and marking the final reading of the evening, although something tells me it might be the final 0.5. And Henry, I am apologizing for ignoring you. Hello, Henry, too. Bless him. Well, thank you ever so much, darling, and we'll see you at the end.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye. So, yes, Bully special prize time. Now, let's see. Sharon, are you there? I know your camera is off, but if you are still with us, we will have you up on, my lovely. She's there. Yeah. Oh, sorry, I do apologize. Is there? Oh, I do apologize, Sharon. You've already been on, haven't you? Sorry, love. We'll get you back for the prayer later. Hayley, I do apologize. You jumped up to the top of the row. There you are.
I'll see them.
Can you hear us? Have you frozen?
Hello?
No, there's a movement there. Can you hear me, Hayley?
I'm gone.
I can hear you if you can't hear me. If you can hear me, rather.
Hear them, apparently.
I can hear you.
What's going on?
Right. Okay, I'll tell you what I'll do then.
We can see or not.
We can see you and hear you, my love. The wonders of modern technology, Marion. I tell you what, I'm just going to disappear a second and send her a private message. I know you had someone else wanting to peek in between. So, oh, can you hear us? Are you back? You can see us and hear us?
I can't hear you.
You can't hear us.
I can't hear anything.
No. Right. Let me just pop you down a second. I'm just going to disappear a second, Marion, and give a chat with her. I know you had someone wanting to come through between anyway. So would you like to start telling the congregation what you've got? And then I can bring up someone in the chat box if they come through with a response to you. Is that all right? You haven't frozen as well, have you, Marion?
No, I'm here.
No, that's right. So you had, just before we went on to the final message, you had someone wanting to shout out and say a hello like before. Would you like to give that information while I try and get hold of Hayley?
Okay.
I'll get out of the way.
Yeah. What this hello shouting that came out here was from, again, somebody who was quite young in passing over. And it was just a feeling that it was somebody who had passed over either in an accident somewhere along the line. I don't know if it was in a car accident, or there was just something that was totally wrong in the passing with this person. It was a young man, I think, I don't know, it could have been about, 19, 20, 22, something like that. And that was somebody who kept on pushing me and wanted really to come through. It's very difficult when you don't know where you are, because I don't see any of the pictures in here. So the connection is quite sometimes weak in that matter. But I do know that he ended up in an accident somehow that would have taken him onto the other side of life. And we are going back just some years with him. I think that he also, I'm just going to ask something here. I know that there was people who came from Denmark and who's in here. And I hope that you will be able to understand English. Of course, if you're here, you will have to understand English. Did we have somebody here who came from Lolland Falster, which is a part of Denmark, or it's a part of Sjælland in Denmark? If we have somebody here, could you please shout up and say, yes, I come from there or have a connection there? And would you know of somebody who has been in a accident or had somebody who was in a car accident of a young man? I think it took place not far away from, I think, either the sea or bridge or somewhere like that. But it's very important that he does come through. And I suddenly thought, my God, am I in Denmark with this young man? Though I can hear the voices going. And he also mentioned the name of Thomas, or I thought it was Thomas he was saying. So it would be interesting if we have somebody here who are from Denmark and would have come from that part of Denmark, from Lolland Falster, which is a nice part of Denmark. I know we haven't got Nick here, so he can't put things in. Annette Juhl.
I was multitasking,
Oh,
and there we go.
Yes, Marion, she was here for. Do you understand, Annette, anything about Falster? Do you understand anything about a young man who would have died in an accident or something to do with driving by with the sea or Falster or anything else like that? Would you understand anything about that? Or somebody who comes from Falster, or?
Yes, she's here.
Okay. Does she understand what it is, Annette, that I'm saying? Do you know if she understands it about this this young man who had an accident?
She's trying to find the person.
Okay, but it's interesting. It links in with Denmark, not actually England at the time being. But if we are so international at the moment, why shouldn't people from all lands?
Absolutely.
You know, so it's very nice sometimes when we can connect. Okay. It's just very interesting because that it was a very sad accident. That's all I can say. It should never have happened somehow. His eyes and himself was not, I can sort of say, he was not on what he was doing at the time. I don't know if he had taken drugs or he was drunk or whatever he was, but I just know that there's some kind of connection with this accident. Which was very sad of him going over in the way that he did, you know, both from his parents and the rest of the family and things like that.
I'm just scrolling down the chat box myself to find the Falster connection, but I don't think that person, because they would have obviously commented again by now. I have been looking, but it's not actually allowing me to go back any further. But it doesn't sound like they're actually still online. So what I can do is I can tag that person once I find them when I go onto Facebook, and then they can come back and have a nosy, because I've made a note of the time, so they can come and have a listen and know that contact has been made for them.
That's interesting, because there is like a bridge that joined together part of Denmark into Falster, Nykøbing Falster, or whatever you call it, that kind of thing. And there was something that happened around that bridge somewhere, and I think that's where the accident actually occurred. As I said, you know, he's been here for some times too. Yeah.
Well, I will go and have a nosy in the chat box in a bit on Facebook, because it remembers that the chat box on here doesn't keep everything for the whole service. I've been back as far as I can, but I will tag her so that she can come back and have a look later. But I've got some good news. I've got a pretty sneaking suspicion that Hayley is back. And no, she's not. Oh, Blast. Oh, well, oh, hang on. I think we just had a comment.
Yeah.
So were you the person of whom we do mention?
Stina, do you understand anything about this, Stina? I wonder.
I haven't fed the mice this week, so they're not speeding up my internet very quickly.
Okay. You haven't paid the bill.
So, Stina, can you understand this connection that's coming through for you?
It's very difficult, isn't it? Because it's almost like you're sitting here, you want this answer so you can keep that connection going. And
Yes.
I do know my work. Often people don't think the way that spirit often thinks. They want to have people through that they know to come through. But then spirit suddenly turn around and they come in with something completely different. And that I also have to say, that also tells me that...
Answered the one mentioning Falster.
Okay.
It was bitter. Oh, I see you. Thank you, Stina. You actually tagged the person. I do apologize. I realize that now. I don't think Bitten is still with us.
Okay.
Because they've had a few mentions now and not poked up, so it might be that they've had to dash off. I suppose it's probably 10:10 there now. So if they've got an early start, they're probably gone beddy by us. But we have now tagged. Thank you, Stina, for tagging this person. They may be able to come back and make a comment in the chat box that we can forward across, and everyone can see that reception. Now, I will try one last time. They do say third's a charm. Hayley, are you there? Can you hear me?
Well, I can see the top of her head.
We can see the top of your head, darling. We can't hear you, and you're not moving anymore. I think the technology has failed. So would you like to just give the information, any information further for Bitten to round it off so that they can come back and have a look later? Because I know how you hate not finishing a message. I will get in touch with Hayley and try and get her back on next week with a bit of a better connection.
Okay. No, it is always like when spirit comes in, they do like to connect and give. And I have to say that it's a very misunderstanding here that just, I want to hear from my mother. I want to hear from my father. Don't even spell it that way, because spirit comes in. Who wants to come in? And they can often go back a generation. And it means that we have to go home and start looking for it. And when we do that, that's actually where the evidence comes in, because the medium didn't read your mind, didn't read the way you sat or anything else like that. We went beyond that. And that is something that we all have to know. And we have to learn that as medium. Don't start reading the auritic field, which so that's it. But the message I would like to give further, it is this young man, we're talking about the young man, okay, who was in this accident, who either was with people who has been drinking or something went on, or maybe had a smoke, or I don't know what went on. It's up to their life, not my life. I just know that it was an accident that shouldn't have happened, really. And I think that is the sad part about it. But it did happen. And the guy did pass over to the other side with a connection and mention the name of Tom or Thomas, as what we have in Denmark, a Thomas. And also turns around and saying that in his life, when he was alive, he was actually quite good in many ways. He loved the sea. He used to go by the sea. He used to either go out fishing at the sea, or he did something. So he was quite active. But in a way, I felt that he just fell into the wrong crowd of people. That was not the way that he was. So when you fall into that kind of category of people and they are not like you seem to follow their path and you go off the track of your own path. And that is very, very sad to see. Also talk about a gentleman who is actually within the family called Christian, which is Christian, and with the surname either of Jensen or Jensson that comes. So it's Christian Jensen that comes in, that's part of the family somewhere along the line. So that's just a message I would like to give. But we have to look for the name of Christian Jensen. We have to look for that name. It's actually, funny enough, my father's name. So it's very interesting that I do know that there is a connection, not with my father, but there is, because I just saw my dad. So it is Christian Jensen I would like to have across here.
Bless you. Well, thank you. And wonderful, wonderful evening filled with love and light and laughter, and always something different too, which I absolutely love. And I just want to thank you for joining us, Marion, for such a wonderful, wonderful evening. Now, Hayley, I've been struggling to get you on. So if you are able to hear me, because every time I bring you up the screen, you freeze. What we will do is I will put your name back in the hat, and I'll have 2 hats next week, one for the raffle and one for you, and you will be pulled out without fail. But in between then, we're going to have a practice run to see what's going on with the connection, so that we can actually get you up on the screen next week, so that we can make sure you get a connection and a message, of course, a connection physically and a connection spiritually. So the wonders of technology always has a bit of fun. So Marion, on behalf of us all, thank you so very much for your demonstration tonight. And let's bring back Reverend Lynn for her final thought on how great the technology has been tonight, I'm sure, especially with the whoopsie daisies earlier on. Are you there, Reverend Lynn? Please don't crash. Oh, you're muted.
And I was absolutely riveted. You know, it was a splendid demonstration, Marion, in the face of all sorts of difficulties. And you know, we started off having difficulty, and it continueth all the way through. But you got there, and not just the recipients on the screen that had been chosen got a message, but other people as well. And that's a very rare occurrence. So I'm sure that there are 2 or 3 people who did not expect to get any kind of message at all tonight, just to watch, who actually got a message. And you know, it was just wonderful to see, really. And it was highly energetic. And it was wonderful the way you stuck with it, Marion. You knew what you were getting. You were determined to get the messages across, even if there was nobody there saying yes or no. You know, it was quite wonderful to watch that, and you cracked it eventually with all of them, and you did indeed prove that you were getting communication from that other side of life, from individuals who had retained their identity and their consciousness, and were able to battle their way through in order to get a message through to loved ones left down here. And there are people we know who are going to be watching the messages that were given. And as we always used to say, Marion, you know, even if you don't get a direct message yourself, take what you can from the messages that are given to others. And I think that is always a wise maxim in our way of life. But I know that, you know, on a church platform, it is so much easier, because you have a sea of faces in front of you. Them upstairs tell you where to go to, or you're drawn. And even if you throw something out, you know that somebody's going to accept it. Whereas when you're sitting there and there's an audience literally of hundreds, you know, it's very difficult to pinpoint. But I know that everybody watching has really enjoyed that demonstration of mediumship, totally convinced, if they weren't before, they are now, that there is such a thing as life after this life. And you've done that very, very well, Marion. So thank you again for joining us. And we hope that you'll make the journey up and visit us in the village hall at Littleport. And as I said, you should feel very at home, because we're very like, you know, the countries that you were used to in your youth. We're flat. And if you come up in the winter, we can almost promise you some ice as well. So God bless you. Thank you for everything you've done this evening. Thank you.
Bless you. Thank you, Lynn. I'm just going to briefly mute Lynn, just so that you don't hear me twice.
Yeah, just turn around and say something, Nick. That will also, like, you know, I know that Reverend Lynn will understand that too. And that is, when I hear a spirit voice, I stick with it.
Absolutely.
I ask the congregation, I had never done it in my life in Great Britain, turned around and used the 3 words, please hold it. No one
Uh,
ever. If spirit is here and they give their name and description or whatever, you don't hold them. You
No.
go back, meet him, and you go back and you ask for more information. That's how it works.
I will tell you that someone not too far away from here, and I'm covering my mouth up so people can't hear what I'm saying. Someone not too far from here always used to tell me, I've got a big stick, Nick, and if I ever see you be a carrier bag medium, I will hit you with it. There it is. So yes, I'm totally with you. I'm totally with you. And you know, in spite of all the technical difficulties, what people have witnessed tonight is not only good solid evidence and great mediumship, but they've also witnessed the courage of your convictions and the strength of your connection with your friends and helpers in spirit who have identified where you're going. Whether or not I want to push a button or not, they are the ones in charge. We all know that. So no, absolutely, I totally agree with you on that score. And like I said, she might be only half a mile down the road, but she's still got the stick ready for me just in case. It keeps coming. It keeps coming. And if I used to go on too long, it used to come in sideways and reach around my neck and pull me off the platform too. So she's always ready. But no, seriously, I agree with you. And on behalf of us all, thank you so, so much. And now for our closing prayer. I will try and bring everyone who's still here up. If they have, well, even if they have frozen, they can just sit there and smile sweetly because it will be a frozen screen. So there we are. Everyone at home, thank you for being part of this evening. Thank you for supporting not only this church, but this way of life, for coming in, week out, endeavoring to prove the world that life is indeed eternal. And I know that the truth of spirit will shine brightly upon each person here present and all of those that will watch in the future. So on behalf of us all, let us join together in prayer as we say, Great Spirit, Father, Mother God, we thank you for the opportunity to come together as friends, to unite under your banner of love and hope and friendship, and upliftment too, and ask that a blessing be placed on each person here present, the friends and the families that they represent, that your love might shine like a web across the world. And in the week until we meet again, Great Spirit, I ask, as ever, on behalf of all of us, that you do not move the mountain, but give us the strength to climb. Until next time, in love and truth and light. Amen.
Amen.
Well, friends, thank you for being part of this evening. Thank you for joining us. We are back next week, and it may well be the last time in Chateau Del Nick. That will be special, won't it? I'll have to put some balloons and streamers up behind me. Keep fingers crossed that Boris doesn't change his mind again. Otherwise, we're here indefinitely. But we will be back each week. And until next week, my friends, may the peace of the Great Spirit go with you all. And until next time, God bless. And of course, the kitchen's now open. Good night.